shit's heating up in Minnesota. Tampon Timmy, you are going down. This just out. Listen, this story is not coming from conservatives. It's not coming from right-wing media. It's coming from staff inside the Minnesota Department of Human Services, the very people who seem to rot the corruption from the inside out. Now they're saying enough is enough. Screw this piece of shit sitting in the state office. We're going to expose him for the jackass that he is. And listen, what they're describing is one of the most corrupt state-run government operations in the history of the United States. I thought it was bad here in Illinois with the Pillsbury Doughboy up in Springfield and Jabba the Hutt down in City Hall. But what the mayor of Minnesota and the governor of Minnesota are doing and have done to the Minnesota people is absolutely fucking disgusting. According to DHS staff, Minnesota DHS staff, Tim Walz personally engineered a system of intimidation, retaliation, and fraud protection that let criminals siphon millions, and hundreds of millions of dollars while punishing anyone who tried to blow the whistle off the corruption that was happening, right? So he protected the criminals that were stealing the Minnesota taxpayers' money and threatened, those who wanted to expose it, right? They say Governor Walz was warned. They say he ignored it, and they say he retaliated very hard, when questioned about it. Quote unquote, this is coming from one of the staff, They said, we let Governor Tim Walz know a fraud early. We got retaliation. We got monitoring. We received death threats in an effort to discredit us, right? All of these employees said that Governor Tim Walz retaliated against the whistleblowers, threatened their families, disempowered the office of the legislative auditor, installed unqualified loyalists in top agency roles. I wonder why, to protect his own fucking ass, right? And let politically favored groups commit fraud with impunity. And we all know that the massive fraud that's going on with this Feed Our Family bullshit, to the tune of $1 billion that 80 Somali immigrants have been arrested for, right? And the massive healthcare scam that the state is doing too. People seem to forget what happened in Mogadishu, Somalia, back in the 90s, where they dragged our 2 rangers through the streets of Somalia. People seem to forget that. We're at war with people. Now they're sitting here in the United States and they're robbing our money, right? They even say that DFL aligned media, right? We all talked about how corrupt the local media is. Well, it's like that in Minnesota as well, right? Like WCCO, which is a local news station in Minnesota, and NPR, they ran interference, right? They refused to cover the fraud. They attacked whistleblowers, all while protecting Walz politically, right? Because listen, everybody knew what was going on, all the leaders, everybody, and they refused to cover it. Why? Because they're criminals and they hate the American people. The liberal media is no good. I've been telling you guys this for months and months and months, and shit is finally coming out. Agency leaders appointed by Governor Tim Walz, Tampon Timmy, right? Mr. Twinkle Toes himself, disregarded rules, laws, and fraud reports. And the whistleblowers say something even more explosive, right? Now Minnesota is drowning in fraud. I mean, the state is, I thought we were bad here in Illinois. They're really screwed out there, right? DHS staff, right? Minnesota DHS staff now is begging the federal government to intervene because Tim Walz's allies are still suppressing evidence and punishing anyone who talks.
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you guys pulling up today, man. You guys are not going to believe who is gearing up to take down Tim Walz. The writing is on the wall. That dude is on his way out the door. Now, I've been digging through the whistleblower reports, the DHS leaks, the fraud numbers, the Ilhan Omar connections, all of it. And just when you think the Minnesota saga couldn't get any wilder, bow, a political earthquake hits. We're less than 1 year away. 1 year away from the November 3rd, 2026 governor's race out in Minnesota. And here's something that a lot of folks don't know. Minnesota doesn't have term limits. 0 term limits for the governor spot. That is ridiculous. We need term limits, not just in governor spots, but every elected position in the United States of America should have term limits. And I'm almost at a point to where I believe that the Supreme Court should have term limits. This is ridiculous. We have old, decrepit people stuck in office right now. But this Walz character in the state of Minnesota can run for governor as many times as he wants. And that alone should terrify Minnesotans. It really should, because under his watch, this state has been bleeding taxpayers dry. I want to get into the numbers real quick. There are whistleblowers inside of Minnesota in their Department of Human Services. They're not Republicans. They're not Trump staffers. They're not bloggers. They're not content creators. These are people that work for DHS, right? They have said that there is likely $6.5 billion worth of fraud since Walz has taken office. This dude is in on the take. I know a couple of days ago, I was like, this dude has to be a moron. He has to be stupid, or he's in on it. Based off additional information and research, this dude's in on it. $6.5 billion have been stolen under this dude's watch. You could pave the state in gold bricks for that kind of money. You could fund schools, roads, hospitals. Heck, you could buy every Minnesotan a brand new F-150 for that money. Instead, it vanished into thin air. Feeding Our Future, childcare scams, refugee programs, autism scams, ghost nonprofits, a spider web of corruption so deep that the DHS staff themselves said enough is enough and went public, and they got suspended for it. That's how bad it is. It is insane. It's ridiculous. I have some additional clips to share with you guys. We got to get into it. We got to talk about Mr. Lindell, who is the dude who created MyPillow. He's the CEO of MyPillow. He has announced that he is officially running for governor in Minnesota. Hey, help's on the way. I would assume that he is going to get an endorsement from the president, Donald John Quavius Trump. That's my assumption. Like, share, subscribe. Let's get into the video.
Minnesota was the tip of the spear for many things, and I believe we're also a Trojan horse for a lot of evil that's sitting here. And everyone, a lot of states can say, "Oh no, it's us. Oh no, it's us." Well, Minnesota, there's a lot of stuff. It would take me a long time to tell everybody. There's a lot of bad things going on here, and I, for myself, I thought about it. It's like I don't know who else. Number one, I don't know anyone else that can win. We've done polling, and I know what needs to be done here. I've lived here all my life. I know what the stuff I did when I came out of addiction, all the stuff we did downtown, helping out Teen Challenge, the Salvation Army, Union Gospel, all these people in the streets that I was helping down there, and that we were doing, all that just was thrown out the window by this governor that we have now in this administration. And it's pretty, the nonsensical things, him running for vice president. I mean, now the whole country knows. It's like, you can't make this stuff up in your head. Like, why would anybody want to do these things and hurt all people? And so I'm very concerned, and I'm going to make, I'll be letting people know real soon what I'm going to do. There's just a few things, but I've already done one step, and that's I'm back in Minnesota. So the big news came out, the fake news came out and said, Mike can't run. He doesn't live in Minnesota anymore. Wrong. Here I'm back, and I'm here.
Mike Lindell, ladies and gentlemen. He's got the money. Sounds like he's got the polling behind him, and looks like he legitimately has a chance to win out there in the state of Minnesota. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. We have some sane individual who have decided to toss their hat in the ring to help fix the foolery that's been going on in the state of Minnesota. I want you guys to hear this right here, because he's got a lawsuit going on in reference to the voter machines and so forth and so on. Listen to this.
Hello, everyone. Well, tomorrow I'm heading to Denver, Colorado for the big jury trial against MyPillow and myself on June 2nd. This will be one of the most important cases in USA history, because I believe it's going to be the gateway to getting rid of the voting machines and securing our elections, which will then secure the American dream. You guys, we need your help. Anyone, share this all you can. Help out. We need funding now. We've got to win this. This is so important. Every other company and every other person that was sued by them has either settled because their insurance company said, hey, we got to settle. This is all you're getting. or they were afraid of going completely broke and being continually attacked. This lawfare has not worked with myself because I know we have to secure our elections and save our country. So anything you do would be appreciated. Thank you.
Hey, I'm with him in there. We gotta secure the elections. We have to. If we want to save the republic, the elections have to be secure. Seriously, I'd like to see federally mandated voter IDs and some other things out there. But we got to do that. Seriously, we got to.
Hundreds of state workers at the Minnesota Department of Human Services publicly excoriated Governor Tim Walz for allowing a, quote, massive fraud scandal to unfold under his watch and retaliating against their whistleblowers. The X account, which represents over 480 staffers at that department, saying, quote, Tim Walz is 100% responsible for massive fraud in Minnesota. We will let Tim Walz know of fraud early on, hoping for a partnership in stopping fraud. But no, we got the opposite response. Walz systematically retaliated against whistleblowers using monitoring, threats, repression, and did his best to discredit fraud reports. This, as a group of Minnesota state government employees wrote to former Vice President Harris and the DNC multiple times, warning them about Governor Walz and what they described as his incompetence, fraud scandals, and retaliation. Here's what they said. We tried our best to keep the public informed. As our tweets are public, maybe Kamala turned a blind eye to fraud like her running mate. Over the years, our messages have not changed. We need fraud to stop in Minnesota and good governance to be restored. Minnesota is currently at the center of a widening fraud scandal. Federal prosecutors continue to unravel this. One of the nation's largest COVID-era fraud cases is so what happened here, Chris, is that really going back to the COVID days, there's this agency, the Minnesota Medicaid Housing Stabilization Services Fund. There's also another one, Feeding Our Future. Basically, the allegations is that all of this money was being stolen by those in the Somali community in the Twin Cities, and it was going back to Somalia. They were funneling it, and then it was ending up in the hands of Al-Shabaab, which is a designated terrorist organization.
Right, and so
it's all coming out. And again, what's in the dark always comes to light, right? What you do in the dark, it always comes to the light. And I'm glad that this is coming out. But how in the world did Kamala Harris's team not gain or garner this information? I'm sure they vetted this guy. I'm sure they did. You're not going to tell me they didn't vet this guy to become her VP, who could have potentially became the VP of the United States of America. So it just lets me know that the entire Democratic Party, the party itself, in my opinion, based off of what we're hearing, based off of what we're seeing in the different states, they're all in on this grift. They're all in on the fraud. They're all in on the corruption. I am convinced at this point that the entire DNC is corrupt as all get out. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that the other side doesn't have their own issues. I'm not saying that, but you don't hear this type of stuff happening. And if any of you guys have heard, please send it my way. We would love to cover it.
First of all, federal prosecutors say 59 people have been investigated in these schemes so far. Americans at large stole tens of billions of forms of aid during the pandemic all over the country. Minnesota's fraud scandal stands out, according to federal auditors. What are you hearing from investigators right now?
Well, I've been following the cases closely as they've gone through the courts, and we know that there are more indictments possibly coming. I think that number might go up to 73 is what I'm hearing. You
see her face? She's looking very meek. Not a lot of attitude, not a lot of bravado, not a lot of heat coming off of that seat right now. This is a look of an individual that is concerned. This is a concerned look. Because it wouldn't surprise me one bit if she's in on the grift as well. This is an individual that came into this country not worth any money. All of a sudden, 2025, this individual is worth $30 million. And we find out that $6.5 billion have been stolen from the state that she resides in and from the people in her district that she represents. I'm just saying, could be a coincidence there.
Okay. Can you shed any light on why the fraud got so out of control in Minnesota?
I think what happened is that, when you have these kind of new programs that are designed to help people. You're oftentimes relying on third parties to be able to facilitate. And I just think that a lot of the COVID programs that were set up, they were set up so quickly that a lot of the guardrails did not get created.
Now, obviously, whatever the ethnic group, the actions of a few dozen should not impugn an entire community of thousands of people.
Yeah, they have to say that. Now, some people would say that Tim Walz didn't want to call out that group of Somalis for fear of being called racist. So upholding the law would be considered, in the minds of Democrats, racism. But the reality of it is this. I am at a point where I believe that Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, and a few others up there, they're in on the grift as well. They're in on the take. I am convinced. I want you guys to hear from Senator Kennedy because he goes in.
Systematically retaliated against whistleblowers, using monitoring, using threats, using repression, and did his best to discredit fraud reports. Instead of partnership, we got the full weight of retaliation by Tim Walz and an indifferent mainstream media. It's scary. It is disgusting, Mr. President. Disgusting. We're trying to put together a budget right now. And we've got state officials in Minnesota, because they wanted votes, that are allowing people in their state who are crooks to steal $1 billion from the American taxpayer. Money that could have gone to people who really were homeless, and children who really were hungry, and kids who, through no fault of their own, really were autistic, instead of stolen, a portion of which allegedly was sent to a terrorist organization in Somalia. Man, these people ought to all be put in jail, including the politicians. Makes me want to stick my head in an oven.
I'm with Senator Kennedy. Not the people who committed the fraud, they should go to prison, but the politicians, they should go as well. They should go as well. Seriously. If they decided to intimidate, to allow this to keep going, put their head in the sand, act like they didn't know it was happening, so forth and so on, they need to go to jail. They need to suffer the same consequences, the same fate. But I want you guys to hear from Tampon Timmy. Oh, man.
When the President of the United States sets up and tweets 150 times after midnight and targets certain people, it's not a coincidence that they're targeting Minnesota. We certainly welcome those investigations. They've been done by all of you, and they've been done here. We certainly want to know that, but it's also the Transportation Secretary who is threatening to withhold our federal dollars. That's who they are. This is who they are. We welcome anybody who wants to help us. We're fixing it. And I said, Minnesotans know us and our team. We led us through COVID. We led us through George Floyd. We brought our economy to one of the best in the country. And we'll tackle this. Other governors have dealt with fraud. I want to make sure I'm the last one that has to deal with it by putting these things in. If they want to help us, I welcome that. I think they do an investigation, find out, but I don't think anybody in here really believes their motive and their timing is about actually doing something about this, much like the legislature. They had every opportunity to do investigations. They had every opportunity to do their oversight. They chose not to. The very legislatures that are required to do an audit have not done their own audit. The very legislator that has Republican legislators accusing other Republican legislators of fraud in the PPP program, the federal program, demonizing an entire population and lying to people about the safety and security of this state is beneath that. And I will just add, as a teacher and as a parent, the absolutely pathetic usage of a slur, not to me, I don't care what he calls me many things. But don't think that doesn't hurt our children. Don't think it doesn't hurt people who are dealing with this. And this is not normal. It's not both sidesism. We're solving problems. We're making life more affordable. We're talking about bringing people in. and we're getting this. They need to focus on the war crimes that are coming up. They need to focus on making life more affordable. They need to focus on the issues they're dealing with. We just had a state dinner for the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, who is directly responsible for the murder of American journalists. That seems to me to be something Republicans should be concerned about, because that is factual based and researched and verified. That's a little different than this speculation.
$6.5 billion going. And when this dude gets asked about the fraud in Minnesota, this dude goes on for 2 or 3 minutes talking about everything except for what's going on in his state. Dude talk about Trump targeting Minnesota, transportation secretary targeting Minnesota, COVID relief, George Floyd, other governors, state legislators, demonizing of Somalians. Trump used a slur, war crimes. He even brought up the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. In your state, $6.5 billion came up missing, and not a head has really rolled for $6.5 billion of taxpayer money coming up missing. Miss me with all that, sir. Seriously, miss me. Mike Lindell or somebody else, please go take this dude's place. Get him up out of office. I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family or buy your brother a coffee. That link's in the description box below. And as always, keep God first, stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
Vibes so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp.